Hello, folks. Welcome to the Crime Dog live stream. I'm your host, Johnny Fiorica, retired detective with the Rochester, New York Police Department after serving 30 years. I worked uniform patrol, undercover narcotic street investigations. I was a hostage negotiator for over 20 years, closing out my career with the fine men and women of the ATF. That's alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Our main focus was violence and gun trafficking throughout these great United States of America. Sitting alongside me, my trusted co-host, you know who it is. He's a 22-plus year veteran, also a detective, retired from the RPD, legendary street cop. He was an undercover cop, SWAT team member, homicide detective, David Simpson. Welcome to the live stream, brother.
Good to be here, Johnny.
David, we had a show we did last week on what went on in the Penfield School District, and we
got some reaction on that one, Johnny.
Yeah, man. We had a ton of questions and concerns from everyone in the district, mostly parents. I just want to say, first of all, folks, we appreciate all your input. We had too many people reach out through DMs, through text messages, through emails, through all our different portals. We couldn't get a hold and talk to every single one, so we decided to do a live stream again for a second week in a row. So again, we apologize for not getting back to each and every one of you, but we hope that we answer all your questions and concerns on this live stream. The second thing I want to say is on the live stream, if you were on last week, this is an interactive show. We take questions and we take statements. We read most of them, but because we have guests tonight, please send your questions, please send your statements, and then after the guest is interviewed, we're going to answer all your questions and concerns, and we're going to keep that guest on in case one of your questions or concerns is for said guest. The two guests that we have tonight, one is Dr. Sarah Pace. She ran twice for school board in Penfield. You all know her. The second individual we have tonight is Mr. Frank Umbrino. Frank Umbrino will be on after Dr. Pace will be on. He owns Patriot Protection Investigations. It's a private security company who does a ton of work in the area, really in upstate New York, primarily in Monroe County. But he will be on after Dr. Pace. We want to be abundantly clear on something. The goal of us talking to you, and David, I'm sure you'll agree with me, the goal of this whole thing when we started putting out our social media posts last week, it was for informational awareness. We want to make sure, first and foremost, that your kids were safe, and the parents, you people listening, mostly you people, are in the know or were in the know. There's so much to digest tonight. I do want to say a couple things about my brothers and sisters in blue. I want to give another shout out to the the New York State Police, the troopers, the detectives. They're doing a bang up job. They have not obviously come out and said anything. It's an ongoing investigation, and they're doing it the right way, folks. They're not going to come out and say anything that's going to jeopardize their investigations. And please don't think that David and I are bragging. Over the course of our cumulative careers, which adding mine and David's time together is close to 55 years of detective work, we had high-profile media investigations that we had to keep quiet because we didn't want things getting out. The second point I want to make is this. The Monroe County Sheriff's Department, specifically Sheriff Todd Baxter. Todd, David and I worked with him. We worked for him for years. I'm going to say one thing and answer a question for you that someone had. The one thing I want to say about Sheriff Baxter, he's going to punt in default, not punt in a negative way, but he respects the law enforcement way of life that we do. Since the troopers have the investigation, the way Todd is, he's not going to step on their investigation. He's going to allow them to do their thing. Okay? That's number one. Number two, I know Todd well enough. I'll tell you this right now. He's going to do everything he can to keep your students, your children, and the parents and everybody in Monroe County safe. The second, or the caveat to that, is this. You parents have to formulate a plan with the district because Sheriff Baxter and his people cannot be there. They're going to be there probably this week, next week. They're going to be on top of things, working in conjunction with the troopers, but they can't be there every day. That's why the onus is going to fall back on your shoulders relative to future planning, right, David, as far as what they do with the district, the parents, right?
Yeah, 100%. They're not going to be able to have on-duty police officers at the schools in Penfield permanently. So another course of action between the parents and the school district will have to be formed in the meantime. Otherwise, they're not going to have that anymore.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm gonna tell you another thing. The one thing that David and we got a lot of questions on this. We had a lot of parents reaching out and talking about our sourced information that we refer to. Okay. I'm gonna tell you right now, David and I, as detectives, would never put anything or any information out there that wasn't or hadn't been sourced. Okay. Now I'm just gonna keep it at that. Okay. The one thing I want to address, and I'm not being catty because that's not what we're here to do. I told you our number one priority. First and foremost, your child's safety. Secondly, your being informed about what's going on. So that being said, I will say this about our sourced information. We never give up our sources. We never will give up our sources. However, I'm going to tell you this. When the District of Penfield puts out a message and it's highlighted in bold, and I quote, law enforcement has determined that the threat is not a credible threat. Well, everyone started scratching their head because Charles Finney gave their parents a little bit more information. And I quote, the Penfield community knew about a Penfield student, had posted on their personal devices and social media potential threats to an unnamed school. Those statements, I don't care who you ask, are in contradiction with one another. So, 2 points to make. If the student posted threats, but they're not credible according to Penfield School District, were they not credible just because the student didn't follow through? What's their rationale? But it is a total contradictory on Penfield's part, and I'm not going to get into it any more than that. The one thing I do want to address, Penfield put out a correspondence, and Penfield put out their correspondence. Oh, we lost David for a second. But Penfield School District put out a report with some FAQs, frequently asked questions. Why does information online, this is what they pose as a question that they got. Why does information online differ from what the district shares? Their answer was this. Much of what is circulating on social media is rumor and unverified information. I'm going to say this again because I'm going to address it. Rumor and unverified information. We are committed to communicating only verified facts as provided to us by law enforcement. Folks, it doesn't take a real life police detective to carve up that statement. Here's what I'm going to tell you. And I want to see, I'm not nitpicking here. But if it's rumor, let's address that. If it's rumor, then they have to have knowledge that they're not sharing with you, because you can't label something as a rumor unless you know a fact. That's number one. Okay. Number two, how do they know that social media information is unverified? How did they make that determination? In cop business that David and I did forever, okay, we used to get information from sources and say, what is your basis of knowledge? Okay. So those are the only questions I would have, which I would never ask the district that. But those are the things you got to ask. If it's rumored and unverified, then what's your basis of knowledge? So, because if you have knowledge that you're not sharing, that's a problem. Folks, it's too easy to pick apart, and we're not going to do tit for tat with them. But like I said, David, right? Bottom line, the kids are safe. Figure out a plan and moving forward.
Absolutely. And I will say that Johnny and I use sources that have firsthand knowledge, not hearsay. So that's about all I will say, is that people that give us information, we don't use people that heard something on the gossip train, and we use that as information. Our information comes from something that they personally observed or that they have witnessed themselves as being a part of something. So that's the information we get on anything.
So that being said, folks, I'm just going to tell you right now, like I want to reiterate before we bring in our first guest, if you have questions or concerns, type away. Hang on. We're going to have our first guest on, and then we're going to address all your questions and concerns. Folks, without further ado, we're going to welcome our first guest. It's Dr. Sarah Pace. She's a wife of a Penfield teacher. She's a mother of 2 daughters and a stepson who also attended Penfield. She's a business owner, Penfield community. She's deep roots inside the Penfield community. And she knows all the local families. Through her work as a chiropractor, Sarah is passionate about helping families achieve their best health naturally and sustainably. Her dedication to children and families is what led her to run for the Penfield School Board for the last 2 years, as she believes the district is not on the right path and wants to see positive changes for students, teachers, and community. Dr. Pace, welcome to the Crime Dog live stream.
Thanks, guys.
Doctor, let's start off with your basis of knowledge. Since everything transpired, what's the main concern regarding the parents that you've had dialogue with since this incident happened?
I think the main thing is just a complete lack of trust and confidence in our administration to keep our kids safe. I think you mentioned that original email that she posted or put out was very misleading. Uh, Made it seem like, oh, this isn't a credible threat. Move on, continue about your weekend. And we see your guys' post with verified information. And I was waiting all weekend for another email stating, we've learned more information, the investigation is underway, and here's what we're going to do to protect your kids. These are the extra security measures we're going to take. That way, parents should be able to make an informed decision whether they deem it safe for their kid to go to school. But we heard nothing all weekend. I know a lot of parents left their kids at home on Monday because they didn't feel comfortable and didn't know what was going on. So and they claim transparency, and it's a complete lack of that. There's just no trust, no trust.
Yeah, the one thing that was the main thing that I got besides our sourcing. Is our sourcing credible, number one? And if you had a kid in the district, would you send them there? I didn't answer specifically I will refer to them as strangers to me because I do not know them personally. I have a ton of friends, coworkers, former coworkers that live in the district. Personal text message and phone calls that I told them is what I said at the beginning of the pod. I said that I trust Sheriff Baxter. I trust the troopers. I'm sure that they have plans in place where their uniform patrol is like a scarecrow and it's going to be present. And I'm sure they have people in plain clothes doing their thing also, of which I don't know. I don't have firsthand knowledge of that, so I'm not going to speak on that. But knowing how Sheriff Baxter works, he would have done everything to keep your kids safe. My concern, and I said this on the intro, Sarah, was that what's the plan moving forward? How are we going to address this? Because let's be positive for 1 second. The plans were thwarted. Nothing happened. Thank God. All the children are safe. So what do you think the parents want to do moving forward?
I do know there is a petition going around to strengthen security. I know there was a committee meeting last winter to have an SRO come into our school, and that was actually approved. And then we had that big blow up board meeting with the book last February, and then the board felt threatened, the administration felt threatened and brought in Black Hawk Security, where uh, just based on knowledge that I've learned about them, they're not seems qualified for this position. And I think there was other people that were more qualified. And I just think people don't know. Like, they had a faculty meeting on Tuesday. So some of the teachers are like, what exactly is Blackhawk's role? What are their hours? Do they get out of the car? Do they go into the buildings? And the administration couldn't even answer their questions. I mean, that's a problem. So we need to be clear on what their role is and what their background is. Were their background checks done on them? Do they carry guns? I mean, none of these answers, we don't have any of these answers as parents, as a lot of the principals and teachers don't have answers to these things. And it's just chaos.
So my question, Sarah, is could you clarify something? Because this is something that I did not have answers for. Black Hawk Security is hired by the district.
Correct.
Now, there was 2 different parents that I talked to, and I'm just going to call them first responders because former coworkers that I worked with live in the district, like I've already explained. Some explained that Black Hawk, excuse me, Black Hawk has been seen visible in some of the grammar, like elementary schools and the high school. But their main focus for them being hired originally was safety at the administrative building where the administrative staff are.
They are usually at district office, and then They do patrol during drop off and pickup. I've seen their cars occasionally, but they have a whole station in district office with cameras and videos, and yeah, that's their priority.
And full disclosure, and I'm not saying this just because I do know the owner of Blackhawk. I worked with him. Full disclosure, the only thing I'm going to say is that when security companies do sign contracts with a quote unquote customer, the customer is even the district is the one who directs them in most instances, unless it's agreed upon prior to the contract. We're going to have a professional guy on after this. It's Frank Umbrino, who owns Patriot Protection Investigations. He's going to be on. He's actually in the Penfield School District. He's going to be on after the doc. He's going to explain all that stuff. But I will tell you this. I want to say this on Blackhawk. I don't speak for them, but I will say that they work at the direction of the district and whoever they answer to. So if they're saying, hey, all 6 of the Blackhawk men and women that are working today, we want you to stand in this building at this place right now, they kind of got to do it. But that's some of the things, though, Sarah, that needs to be ironed out with the parents and the district, as far as maybe saying, hey, you need to hire more Blackhawk guys or whoever security, and get them into our schools and get them into some type of rotation if they're not going to be in each and every school front like an SRO is,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I think there's a lot of frustration because back when we had that board meeting, I think it was February, there was much more urgency and movement on administration's part to get them there. Where now it's like it seems our kids are second best. It's the board and the administration are priority, and our kids' safety not the priority. And in my opinion, a public school is to teach our kids academics and an education and protect our children. And right now, neither of those are happening in Penfield schools. Bottom line.
got it. David, I don't know what to make of this because I think that it all needs to get, like we said, we propose what happened. We're not part of the solution, and we don't want to be part of the solution. We can offer our opinions, David, but at the end of the day, we think that the parents, and we've said it along on past shows, the parents know what's best for their children. So it's up to the parents to work with the school district to come up with a solution.
Yeah, I would agree. But I would also say the 50 emails that I got, people were asking, should I send my kid to school? My answer was very clearly, if you don't feel comfortable sending your kid to school, you absolutely should not send your kid to school. All right. A day or two of school or a week of school is not going to make or break anyone's life. So if it makes you feel more comfortable as a parent and it makes your child feel more comfortable until the dust settles, you do what any good detective would do and you slow it down and you let things settle and you take a look at it with clear lens after a few days, and then you make decisions. There's no rush to send your kid to school after some of this stuff. If you don't feel comfortable, don't send them. That was my advice, and it'll always be my advice. No parent, if you trust your gut, if you don't feel like it's a good thing for your kid to do, don't let them do it.
Yeah, I do. I think parents need to start showing up at the board meetings again. I think that's one of the first things we need to do, voice our concerns and how we're going to move forward to protect kids.
Sarah, there was a thing that we got through one of our platforms. There's a change.org, I think, link.
Yeah.
Put on, I think I don't know 100% by one of the parents.
Yep.
The petition, there it is right there. Danny popped it up because he's smarter than us. I guess it's on our Facebook page, but there's a change.org petition right there. There's a link at the bottom of our screen. What's the goal of that? We saw the objectives at the end of that, but it's pretty much what we're talking about.
I think it's to start some type of change and really demand transparency among our administration, because we're not getting that right now, and some type of safety procedure that are clear and concise, because right now that's not in place.
Right.
And we don't want something bad to happen.
Sarah, if it was up to you, what would you like to see done? What would be the perfect world through your lens?
Well, I just spoke with someone from Webster Schools. They have 2 police officers that are hired that patrol all of their schools. They go to all the different schools throughout the day. I think that's a great idea. I think the SRO, we need to look back at doing that, a student resource officer. I know a lot of people it's one way or the other, but armed guards. I mean, we have armed guards at sporting events and places like that, but we don't have them for our kids, especially with this world that we're living in and the things that just happened in the last couple of months. I personally am for that. I believe that's our best protection for our kids.
And I'm sure you've heard that the 29 Catholic schools in Buffalo have armed security this year and security consultants, and it's paid for by the Catholic Diocese Foundation.
I'm pretty confident that if you polled most of Penfield community, they'd be willing to pay the extra taxes for those services.
Right.
Sarah, the $1 million question. The $1 million question is: I know you ran in the past. Do you plan on running again?
As of right now, yes.
Okay, I was gonna say you don't have to answer that. I don't want to.
What are Penfield people doing voting? Come on, Penfield. Jesus.
It's rough town we're in, Dave.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And they wonder why they get what they get. Come on, people, wake up.
Get out and vote.
All right. So Sarah, Dave, I don't know if you're ready, but Danny, why don't you pop the first question or comment? What do we got here? Thought for the. So should parents start a private security service on their own dime? Is that legal? I will tell you this.
No. No.
Listen, first of all, it is a pain in the butt. Owning a private security company is a lot of work. The next guy that's coming on, Mr. Frank Umbrino, who owns Patriot, he'll tell you that. There's a lot to it. There's more than just saying, hey, we're a security company. There's a lot. New York State Department of State, where all security companies go through, there is a list as long as Shaquille O'Neal's arm with regulations that these companies have to file, and it's nuts. Next question. How will the superintendent be held accountable for her lack of transparency? She potentially puts students and staff at risk. Sarah, you want to answer that one?
That's a good question. I know. I mean,
falls back on the parents, though, I think. That's how I would answer it.
I think, again, showing up at the board meetings, I think putting the pressure on. I mean, the board hasn't even come out with a statement. They have been MIA in this entire situation. So frankly, I think they should be held accountable as well. They've had nothing this entire time. So it's pretty disappointing.
Gotcha. Danny, what do we got? Here we go. Bottom line, it feels like the administration is safe, but our kids are not. That's a strong statement right there with Nicole Marie. Yeah, that's a strong one. That's exactly what Sarah was saying. Okay. Do you think Dr. Potter's view on social justice impacted her crafted response to this issue? Was there tribalism at pay? That's $1 million question.
Wow, Occupy. That might be the question of the night.
Yeah. I will say this. What David and I did say about the first correspondence that went out, we kind of felt like it was a bunch of, I know she's got a PhD. Listen, they're always smart. They're always smarter than us.
I got a PhD too.
But anyways, I think they overthought it. To answer your question, Occupy, I think they overthought it. And I think they try to outsmart themselves. If they would have been a little more forthright, and which I'm not saying that they were lying, I'm just saying if they could have come out and said, hey, we know X, Y, and Z, but right now the New York State Police is telling us not to say nothing. We're going to do everything we can to keep your kids safe. More than just saying it's not a credible source. Amy Cohen, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I just got an email.
Can I just say one thing on that?
Yeah.
I think they were trying to protect one kid and putting thousands of other kids at risk. And that's the problem.
And you mean the one that was doing the threat. Danny, put that.
Yeah.
Whoa, Danny.
Danny, I can't read that fast. All right. You're saying the person that was the focal point of this investigation that made the threats. I just got an email from the principal at St. Joe's today saying, in light of the recent events, they are hiring a security guard at the school. Excellent, St. Joe's. That's the way it should be, man. St. Joe's is in Penfield. St. Joe's is right there too, right? Right across
the street.
Yeah. Filled with Catholic. Thanks, Amy, for the question. Who's next, Danny? What do we got? Jennifer Lee. There is a survey that every parent in the district received recently. Fill it out. All right. So Jennifer's basically saying that you got a survey, fill it out, be active, be a part of it, be a part of the solution. I want armed security retired RPD and Shay. Yeah. Well, I will tell you, Mr. Umbrino, who I'm referring to him as, he does hold a current title with the Rochester Police Department, but I'm referring to him as Mr. Umbrino because he's coming on as a business owner and not representative of the RPD today. most of his staff, like probably 95%, are retired RPD, MCSO, or some town police, and or current off-duty guys that he has. He's got a whole shitload of people that work for him.
Do you know what Blackhawks people are? If
I
any
do
of them
not.
are?
I do not. I
Just
don't know the rationale. I only know Frank's Frank Umbrino's because I see them all around, and I worked with probably 85% of those guys. If parents raise concerns to the board, and are they not silenced? That's something I can't answer. I don't know how it works out there in Penfield. What's your thoughts on that, Doc?
Yeah, it's hard. They kind of run it like a dictatorship over there, unfortunately.
Do you feel that person right there just kind of feel? It seems like they feel like if all their statements and their comments and concerns fall on deaf ears.
Well, yeah, I know a lot of parents have emailed. People have called. They've gotten no responses. They've turned off their voicemails at district office, and they've turned off commenting at Parent Square emails.
Well, look how they handled the book. I mean, that was a joke. They weren't listening to anybody. They were just doing it because they had to, and then shut it down and ignored everything.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
Do parents have faith in the newly hired security director? Don't know who that is.
Well, I think she's talking
Blackhawk.
Isn't that Blackhawk? I think.
Is that Blackhawk? I don't know. You got, again, these are questions. These are great questions, folks. And the people that are asking these questions need to ask these same questions to the board at the next. When's the next board meeting? Is it like October 5th or 7th?
Yes, I think it's 7th. Whatever that Tuesday is. So maybe it's 7th.
Crime Dog might have to be there.
Look at this. Shout out to Frankie. School safety is multifaceted. Patriot is exceptional. He's coming on next, folks. You want to stick by with that guy.
Oh, boy.
They are in multiple school districts. They build relationships with kids and are highly professional. Susan, that's an excellent point. I'm going to tell you that right now because we're going to talk about rapport building rapport. Frank's going to get into all that with building relationships with these kids. And he's going to talk about not only does he have retired guys, Susan, but it's going to be interesting. Stick by. This is a teaser. Who he specifically puts in his schools. So that's a great point, Susan. Excuse me. I don't have a cough button.
You need one.
There you go. Thank you for speaking up, Doc. That's you right there. Laura's giving you a shout out.
Thanks, Laura.
That's it, folks. Listen, folks, that was it. Dr. Pace, we're so happy that you were able to join us. Thanks for calling in the live show on Saturday. We appreciate you. We appreciate everything you're doing. We appreciate you looking out for not only your children, but the children of the entire district in Penfield, New York. Folks, if you have any questions or concerns, like we said from the beginning, I think your best information is to go and form a conglomerate and go to the next school board meeting. I got to be honest with you.
Strength in numbers. I mean, the strength in numbers.
Yep. We got to keep fighting.
Yep. Vote policy, not people. Policy, not people. That's what we say all the time. Dr. Pace, it was an extreme pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Folks, stick with us.
Guys.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
I love Dr. James and Dr. Sarah. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Mike. David, it's got to be so frustrating for these parents. I don't want to sound, it's just got to be so. Oh, look at Sarah. She logged off. Danny popped her up, but it's okay. She'll be able to see that in the reruns.
Johnny, I honestly, I mean, I don't tell. I mean, I'm just saying this. If it was me,
yeah,
I would have a for sale sign in front of my house and I'd be gone because I just don't think there's a quick fix. But I know that's not easy to do for everyone. So I will say that I get it, but this is so frustrating to watch these parents.
Yeah.
Just, it feels like they're talking to a cement wall, both with the book issue. That's how it was handled. And now with this, it's just like, I just don't see any major changes happening. And, people are like, well, what do we do? I'm like, it's going to take a long time, no matter what you do. So if you're that concerned, it might be time to look at some other places.
There's a couple of answers to that question or comments that I want to make. First of all, 100%. We did a pod on the book issue, not discounting the book issue, not saying anything that one is more important than the other, but school safety and making sure that we have the kids safe first and foremost. I think that's why you saw so many parents piling it on. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But anyways, without further ado, folks, we want to welcome to the stage right now, Mr. Frank Umbrino. Danny, is Frank there? Frank Umbrino, welcome to the Crime Dog Live Show, brother.
What's up, boys? What's going on?
Folks, for those that don't know Frank Umbrino, Frank is a 32-year veteran, plus year, I should say, of the Rochester, New York Police Department. He's the current captain and commander of the homicide unit, But today, Frank is not representing the RPD. I want to make that abundantly clear. He is not representing the RPD in any way, shape, or form. He's here tonight as one of the 3 owners of a private security company. It's known as Patriot Protection and Investigations. Frank, we asked you to come on because you obviously co-own Patriot with 2 other retired cops. And I just got done. I don't know if you had the opportunity to listen, but one of the comments that we had with Sarah Pace, Dr. Pace that was on, commented how great your company was and how you're in multiple districts throughout Monroe County and upstate New York.
Yes, we're in 6 or 7 schools now, I think it's up to, both in Monroe County and a couple adjacent counties as well.
So
it's busy.
You guys have a multitude of contracts where your staff is tasked with doing protection details, public events, private events, big events. Sometimes you send a bunch of guys. Sometimes you only send 1 or 2. We talked a little bit today, and obviously everybody, full disclosure, Frank and I worked together for many, many years. You do have several contracts with school districts. One is with Charles Finney. It's a private school. It's a Christian school right next door to Penfield High School, which could have been one of the schools that was affected by this.
Yes. We got several public and private schools, and Finney is one of them. Great school.
Could you, for those that are listening, Frank, could you explain when you guys put a proposal together for a school district, when you put a proposal together, and prior to you guys inking it, could you explain sort of that dialogue that you have with the school? In other words, what are your expectations of them and what they could expect from you?
So our expectations for them are, tell us what you want, right? Because we work at the direction of the school district, and every school district is a little bit different. Every school district has different needs, different wants, different desires. So, first off, we got to be on the same page as them, as far as philosophy, if you will. We're always going to have some differences, but we tailor what we do for the schools to what that specific school wants and what their needs are. All but one of our schools were armed. My personal and professional opinion is they should all be armed. There's, it's not a question in my mind. They're there for a specific reason, and they should be armed.
Yeah, they're not just scarecrows. A good guy with a gun is better than a bad guy with a gun.
You're not stopping a shooter with the finger. Let me tell you that.
No.
So one of the things I want you to drive home, Frank, is you got a ton of guys that work for you. 2 things I want to say, and I'm not asking you to give us numbers, but I threw like probably well over 90% of your guys are either retired police officers, RPD, MCSO, area towns locally throughout the state, and or current police officers that are just having this as a side gig that they work. The majority of your staff are certified or retired cops. Is that correct?
Yes. Everybody that we have assigned to schools is a former police officer, and a lot of them, quite frankly, are former SROs.
That was my second thing. Yeah.
In fact, we have, and I'm not going to call out any school districts here, but we have a couple guys that retired from their assignment as a deputy or an officer, specifically to work in the schools for us. And that's been great. It's been a marriage made in heaven.
Wow. So, folks, just to reiterate, so Frank's staff, he's got a ton of guys to pick and choose from and plug them into the many contracts that he's got. Okay. You probably see him down all over the city at different festivals and things like that. But we're specifically talking about schools. So what he's saying is not only does he have competent, armed, with the exception of 1, armed, retired or current officers that are off duty working this as a side gig, but he also takes from his staff and plucks guys that have SRO, school resource officer experience, to put into the schools for the districts that do hire him, which is that's a great thing to do, right? I mean, I'm not joking around, Frank. David and I, we were drugs, guns, violence. We were not the people that came to schools and handed out the coloring books and crayons. And I'm not saying that's what SROs do, but I'm saying that SROs are a different breed. They build relationships with these kids. Could you kind of expound on that?
It's a skill set. It's a skill set, 100%.
It is. And I got to credit my partner, Jared. He's the one that runs all the schools, and he used to do that himself, and he's awesome at it. A school resource officer is a tough job, right? I mean, I couldn't do it.
I couldn't
because
do it.
you have to be number one, you got to be a warrior, right? For the oh shit situations, you got to be able to take care of business. You got to be a counselor. You have to be able to build relationships with these kids. The biggest thing that we stress with our guys, and they already know, is de-escalation, right? So a school resource officer wears a ton of different hats. He's a counselor, he's a warrior, he's friend. He's got to be able to get along with the kids and joke around with the kids, build rapport with the kids. That's important for a ton of reasons. But one of the biggest things, especially when you're talking about school security, is mitigation and preventing things. And these kids got to feel comfortable to approach, whoever the resource officer is, to be able to tell them something on the side. And it's difficult to build those relationships. It takes time, and some of these guys are just awesome at it.
Right. Well,
I can't get my kids to talk to me, let alone some.
Well, I'll tell you, and I know I'm repeating myself, but sometimes I want to make sure stuff that Frank is saying is digested. And so basically he picks the people, the men and the women that did the job while they were on the job, the SROs.
And had training in that. It's not like you just throw an SR into a school. Like those people that get specific training, just like Johnny and I would have got training in undercover work or in homicide. Those people are specifically trained for that detail. They're not just reading a pamphlet.
Right. Yeah. And there's specific training that SROs have, right? That even regular police officers don't necessarily have. And, most of these guys, because they're SROs or were SROs, they've had all that training. That includes active shooter training, de-escalation, stuff like that. And I will say that most departments now all do active shooter training in one way, shape, or form. They've taken that very seriously. And, the good thing, one of the good things about hiring law enforcement and former law enforcement is they have all that training. I mean, that's invaluable. You can't get that somewhere else. In fact, we have, a bunch of guys on our staff that are actually instructors for a lot of these topics, such as active shooter training. And one of the things that we do too is we offer these presentations to schools for that as well, if they need it.
Yeah.
So not only are they trained in it, we actually have a bunch of trainers on staff, which is great.
It takes a special kind of person, because just to reiterate, not be a Johnny repeater like my wife calls me all the time, but to have someone, basically be a counselor to the kids sometimes, but be able to change hats tactically, draw down, and be able to eliminate a threat. And folks, I hope you understand what I mean by eliminate a threat. That's what they do to keep your kids safe. Frank, when you guys are signing these contracts and your expectations, your dialogue is going on with the school, obviously every school is different. Tactically, I don't want you to give away any tactics, but there's been a ton of school shootings over the course, especially the last 10, 15 years all over the country. Obviously you talked about the school training, the first responder training that we all went through as cops, and they still continue to refresh yearly. Is there anything that you want to talk about relative to not so much the tactics, but what you guys do to keep kids safe? Is there like a protocol every school does? Hey, all the exterior doors, your guys are walking around, making sure they're locked, making sure that interior doors, certain ones are locked. You're posted here, you're posted there, not giving your tactics away, but is there generally something that you guys do in each of these schools that you can kind of throw a blanket on to make sure that they're all safe?
Yeah, we'll go in, we'll do an initial assessment, and we're always reviewing and seeing if there's anything that could be done better as far as physical security goes. Surveillance. I mean, physical security is very important there. Security cameras are awesome. Whether there's some form of metal detectors or not. Securing the entrances, allowing limited entrance with keypads only. If somebody's coming into the school, is there, like at Hilton, if you're going into the high school, you're in an area and you're kind of locked in there until you actually get let into the school. So, physical security is very important, and we will do assessments and continue to assess. But, just as important as, physical security, such as the cameras, is, the atmosphere of the school, right? That's a big part. It's like homicide investigations, right? You could have the best homicide investigators in the world, but if you don't have a good DA's office or a good Monroe County crime lab, it's not going to run smoothly. You need, everybody needs to be on the same page for all the wheels to go forward. And it's the same thing when you're talking about school security. Got to have the physical presence. You got to have the technology backing you up. and you also have to foster the right atmosphere in the school, right? And that's important. Is it a friendly environment? Is there trust between the kids and the students and the SRO, or the kids and the staff and the SROs? Is it a environment that fosters everybody getting along, or does it not? That's very important. So there's a lot of different facets of it, and physical security is just one of them.
Yeah, and I'm just going to make a statement. This really isn't a question. That Buffalo Tops shooting that happened a couple years ago, I think in his manifesto, he talked about scouting out the Hudson Walmart. And then he obviously came from east to here, but he drove right by us through Rochester to get to that Buffalo Tops because he knew the RPD had hired hands and hired guns doing outside security for that Walmart. So when you hire companies like yours, I think it's very important to let everybody know, hey, guess what? We got private security. They're armed. They're here to protect us. It's not a secret. Make it well known, because you want people to understand, people that are looking to do nefarious things and bad things to our community, specifically our children, that they know that there's going to be somebody there that's going to stand in between good and evil.
100%. There's a lot of soft targets out there, if you will, and these sickos that want to do something like this, they're certainly going to scope out these places, and they're going to hit a soft target, right? I mean, it's common sense. If you know that there's a guy standing there who looks sharp, who's armed, and is there, are you going to hit that place, or are you going to go to the other place where there's nobody standing out front?
Yeah, that's a good point. Frank, if you're ready, let's take some questions. We held them today. We explained to our audience. Let's get some Miles Stars. I'm a student at Penfield High School, and none of us feel safe. Man, it's sad. Our concerns feel completely ignored at the school. This is more of a statement, Frank, than anything. He's a student at the high school.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah. You know what? The only thing I will tell you, Miles, talk to your parents, talk to your friend network. See if you can't develop a plan. See if you can't develop a way to get your voice heard. You're young people. You should be heard. You guys were the ones that were mostly affected by this. I'm sorry to hear that, brother, but I'm sure if you talk to your parents and get a game plan together, that'll be great. Shay Rogers, I am on pins and needles as a parent. Again, more of a statement, Frank, than anything. Go ahead.
No, it's, that's the whole thing with fostering a positive environment at school. And, one of the biggest things, and I think you guys have touched on it in the past, is just honesty, right? You have to be, we can't prevent everything nobody can prevent everything from happening. And sometimes, unfortunately, bad things are going to happen. And, when they do happen, we have to be honest about it. And we have to tell the truth. And, sometimes there's things that we can't divulge, but whatever you're talking about, you need to be able to divulge as much as you possibly can without jeopardizing an investigation, so the public is aware of it. A lot of times people's concerns are blown out of proportion, right? Sometimes they're not, sometimes they are. But, as administrators or bosses or whatever, it's important for us to be honest and tell the public what we can, as much as we can.
Yeah, especially, and again, you're not here representing the RPD, but in your current position, there's times when it's best to say, hey, folks, I'm standing out here. I'm listening to you. But just so you know, I can't give you too much because I don't want it to negatively or adversely affect the investigation. But I'm here to let you know I'm listening to you. I'm listening to your concerns, and we're handling some of those.
Yes, and it takes time to build trust, right? And if you have trust with the media and trust with, in this case, the parents of the school district, when you tell them, look, I know, but I can't answer this question right now, they're going to give you a little bit of leeway because you've built up that trust over time. And that's very important.
Yeah, we already answered this one, but Occupy is always ahead of the curve. He's an awesome listener to all of our platforms. We answered Occupy's question, but thanks for participating, Occupy. Danny, anything else? Jennifer Lynn. As a parent, I'm very concerned anyone can walk into Penfield High School with a gun or a weapon in their backpack. How is this going to change?
It's not.
I mean,
it's not. It's not in the short term.
Yeah. So I will tell you this. I know that we're aware that Sheriff Baxter has put uniform patrols out in front of the schools. I don't know how long that's going to last. We said it at the beginning of the podcast. There is a current game plan. The ultimate game plan is going to rest with the parents demanding answers from the district and having these uncomfortable conversations that apparently we're having instead of the school district. So right now, Jennifer, as a parent, I hope, I know Sheriff Baxter, he's on his watch. Let's see here. What do we got here? James Ashby and Dr. Sarah Page Penfield. There are surveys that were conducted by Penfield Schools that clearly state that teachers do not feel supported by district leadership. This has gotten even worse. If teachers do not feel supported by the district leadership, how do we expect our children? That's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean,
this is all internal stuff. This is behind the curtain, if you will. This is what we call family stuff. That this is a great statement. Unfortunately, the answers to these questions are going to fall back on the parents in the district, David. Right? I mean,
but people have to band together. Your one voice, one email is just going to get blown off. Someone needs to take a leadership position among the parents or a group of people, and they need to get as many names and signatures and people banding together and have one very large group with one voice instead of just these flying emails going around, if that's what's happening, because that's easy to ignore. And I remember dealing with this at my kids' schools during the COVID stuff. We got change when 150 people were together versus me complaining on an email. So I just encourage you to work together and band together and have a voice, one collective voice. It'll go a lot further than ranting and raving in emails. That's just my opinion.
David, I think their next school board meeting is October 7th. Danny, could you pop in my cans and confirm that? I think I'll tell you what, that next school board meeting, I think it's October 5th or October 7th. It's going to be, I think it's, listen, I
might just go.
I think that it's going to be something that
I got some stuff to say.
It's going to be one for the ages, and I hope parents go there. It's October. Okay, I'm talking to my producer in our headphones. It is October 7th. I thought we talked about that on our live show. That's every Saturday, by the way, on iHeartRadio. We start at noon in October. Wait, what is this? Oh, wait, this is the last week we're on from noon to 1, David. From now on, we're going to start at 10 a.m. on iHeartRadio on WHAM 1180. This is a good question, Frank. This one's for you because Arlene is a Rochester woman who is huge on Twitter. Florida is testing armed drones in schools. Is that something that's possible along with the security? What's your thoughts on that?
Sounds awesome.
That does sound awesome. Unfortunately, I don't know what they're doing in Florida.
I love Florida.
I do love Florida, but you can't have armed drones, at least at this point. It would be great if you could.
Yeah.
But, drones are an awesome resource. We actually, we do have several guys that are drone operators. We do have those, that could be used for various things. Could it be used at a school? There's always certain events or situations where a drone is definitely not going to hurt. It's only going to help, especially if you look at some of the stuff that's been going on lately with a lot of these snipers, whether it's, the attempted assassination on the president or the Charlie Kirk thing. Yeah. I think it's going to become a lot more prevalent where you have drones flying over a lot of these events just as an extra set of eyes. It's huge in that regard. So, Arlene, I love the idea. It would be great. I think we may get there at some point in time, but the answer is no. But we do use drones in at a school, maybe for a school event, a football game or something like that. It would be helpful, but not for everyday purposes necessarily.
Yeah. So I don't want to butcher Fiorica. The difference between MCSO and RSO is that she's talking about the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. I think she's talking about an SRO, a school resource officer. Well, it depends. MCSO does have school resource officers in some districts. I'm sorry. Yeah. School SROs. So most police departments, RPD got rid of theirs after 2020 when everything became woke. That's a whole other story, but I'm pretty sure MCSO still has SROs, school resource officers.
One thing, Johnny.
Yeah.
People need to know that how you support your police departments and how the dwindling numbers within police departments make it difficult for management to put SROs in schools because they need to staff their patrol units and they don't have those extra guys and gals to do that. So just be careful how you vote and how you campaign and the things you believe in. You hammer the police, and people don't want to be police. There's a cause and effect, and this is one of the things. Is numbers are down, and we can't put people where they need to be. We don't have the extra, so to speak.
Right. Recruitment and retention all over the country is down. But at the end of the day, so MCSO stands for Monroe County Sheriff's Office. SRO is a school resource officer. It's going to be a decision up to the Penfield School District how they utilize the MCSO and Sheriff Baxter's guys, and if Sheriff Baxter has the manpower, number one. Number two, it's how they vote in the school board meetings on what they plan on going, if they're going to beef up their current private security company to make sure that they have all the schools covered. Erica, to speak, you need to sign up ahead of time, live in the district, and speak about something on the agenda for. Oh, that's cute, David.
That's how they control it.
You see that? They control the narrative. That's cute.
Yeah. So if they're not going to talk about this, then you don't get a chance.
Right. October 7th, they're going to talk about garbage disposal and paving the parking lots. That's what they're going to talk about.
And a raise for the superintendent.
Right. That's what they're going to talk about. What do we got, Dan? We got any more questions or concerns?
Let me ask Frank a question real quick.
Yeah.
Frank, do you have any districts where you have guys in each of their schools?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You don't have to name the school. I'm just curious if you guys do a patrol, is it more of a patrol thing, or is there actually a school district that has one, members of your agency within each of their schools?
Yeah, we got one school district where we cover like three schools total that they have. We cover all the schools, and the hours are different at some of them, but yes.
Right. Got it.
Some districts are great. They take it serious. They understand, the importance of it. Other districts don't want anybody there.
Well, Kim DeRosa is giving you a shout out. She's like me and Frank, me and David call her Mrs. Penfield. She's been on our podcast. She's been on our live show multiple times. Shout out to Kim, but she wants to thank you and God bless you and your team, Frank, for doing what you do.
Thank you, Kim.
And Frank, the school districts can have you guys be concealed, or more overt and have their as far as weapens, right?
Yes.
You don't have to have them showing for the kids and stuff like that. There's multiple ways to be armed.
And for schools, again, I think they should all be armed, but I would not, we don't want to carry open in the school. It doesn't need to be out in everybody's face, but they do need to be armed.
Well, that's it, folks. There you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. That's Mr. Frank Umbrino. He is the owner and proprietor, along with Drew and Jared. They own Patriot Protection and Investigative Services. They are a all-inclusive place to get your security needs. Frank, we can't thank you enough for joining us.
Well, George, every day is a day closer, my friend. Every day is a day closer.
Guy's addicted to work.
Oh, please.
Man. Well, Frank, we can't thank you enough. I know your busy schedule between your homicide schedule that you currently do and Patriot. You take a lot of time. Thanks for carving it out tonight. I'm sure the Penfield parents appreciate your expertise coming on. We hope we answered their questions.
Absolutely. Anytime you guys want me back, let me know.
All right. Thanks a lot, Frank.
See you, Frankie.
See you, man. David, I got to tell you, man, there's part of me that feels like there's parents that are fired up. There's part of me that feels like some parents feel helpless. I'll tell you, Miles got to me when he's a student and he's like, man, this is how I feel. That kind of got me a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. We've seen a lot of things over the course of our careers, but having a kid come on a public platform like this and lay his heart out there, I give him a whole bunch of credit. And I hope people know Miles, and I hope his parents are seeing it. And I hope they get him the answer that he's going to need, because at the end of the day, the parents got to, parents got to feel safe sending their kids to school. The kids got to feel safe going to school. Right, David?
Well, that's something the school leadership needs to see. It's one thing to hear, an adult voicing their opinion emotionally. It's easy to tune that out, but it's much different when a kid is voicing their concerns to you. It would be a pretty heartless person not to be able to take that seriously and seeing the vulnerability in that individual expressing that. So hopefully that gets out, and hopefully students are also voicing their concerns, because sometimes they can have a louder voice than actually the parents can.
Yeah, Tom, we feel you, and we apologize for that, man. Although it's not our apology to give, we've done a lot of things over the course of our careers, David. We've seen a lot of things. We've seen a lot of evil in this world, and I know that this is a hot button issue in Penfield. But I'm going to say it again. Thank God that TikTok. Thank God the troopers. Thank God they jumped on it. Thank God a crisis was legitimately averted in this instance. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know what to say. I hope that district offers more information. I do wish the district, David, a bunch of luck. You know, I'm not just being a politician. For those, for our brothers and sisters that live in the Penfield School District, know that I was the furthest thing and you were the furthest thing from politicians. But when it comes to kids, we got to put our gigantic egos aside. It's all about the kids. That's it.
Yeah, people need to, like I said, trust your gut. If you don't feel comfortable, it doesn't matter whether it's the school district thing. It doesn't matter whether your kid's going to a sleepover. If you don't trust something and something feels wrong, you shouldn't be allowing your kid to do it, and you should take comfort in that, because missing a sleepover, missing a couple days of school, whatever it may be, is insignificant in the whole scheme of things. So trust your gut. Don't be pressured to, if anything like this was ever to happen again, I hope it doesn't. But don't if you don't want your kid to go to school, don't send him to school.
Yeah,
it's
David, remember
sorted out.
And I don't want to sound like a drama queen, but remember when we were on the street? We used to say, when you used to be on Jefferson Avenue, Genesee Street, and South Plymouth Avenue, and I was over on North Clinton Avenue, Conkey Avenue. We used to always say to ourselves, if it felt, we always said gut, right? Cops had gut feelings, stuff that we couldn't explain, right? The gut, right? Trust your gut. But we always used to say, if you feel it in here, what your gut's telling you, transport it to here.
Right.
Because that's what you got to let your brain know. Because if your gut is saying, man, this don't feel right, or it don't seem right, it's not right. Oh, man, David, thanks. Shout out to Josh, too, by the way, from Blue Line. I hope he's getting better out in Denver. Our thoughts and our prayers.
Hang in there, Josh.
We appreciate you guys tuning in. I got to be honest with you, folks. I'm going to be honest with you, totally honest with you. We're going to probably unplug from this incident only because we feel that we've done all we can. We don't want to feel like we're beating a dead horse. However, just like this incident came to light, if the Penfield parents feel that they need another platform, and I'm not starting any trouble, this is going to sound very passive aggressive, but obviously, besides the superintendent and the school district, the Rochester media has laid dormant on this entire incident.
Gee, I wonder why. If you want to know how good the information we have is, look at the media and how they haven't touched this. Because if the media touched this, they'd have to give Crime Dawg credit for having some information that they don't have. So if anyone wants to know how good our information is, look at how silenced the mainstream media is on this topic.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I'm kind of, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to tell you this, I'm not going to name names, but there is some good investigative reporting in Rochester. David, if you watch David and I on our platforms, we talk on live radio every Saturday.
Jennifer
does a great job. At the end of the day, there's some good investigative reporting that does go on in Rochester. But sometimes those good investigative reporters, David, get stories squashed. So there has been, and I double checked because we are detectives. I double checked. There is social platform, and their social platforms. There's some stories, very limited short stories about this. Nothing dives into the weeds on it at all. And I had not seen it. I could be wrong, but there was never anything that I've been seeing on the news TV, just on their social media accounts. So anyways.
I watch Channel 10 every morning before work. I mean, not work, but I watch it in the morning, and I haven't seen anything.
Folks, without further ado, David doesn't like when I say it, but we're not going to beat a dead horse.
Oh my God.
We're done talking. But if you have any questions or concerns, you know how to reach us.
Why would you beat a dead horse? It's already dead. It doesn't make any sense.
Folks, check out our sponsors, Rick Borelli Team, WCI Realty, Fleet Feet Rochester, the Fallville Agency, and the Winfield Grill. Check them all out. You saw them come across your screen. They're great supporters of ours. If you have any questions or concerns, reach out to us on any of our platforms. You can reach us via email. And that's it, David. Folks, we hope you stick with us for future episodes of the Crime Dog live stream. But like my brother-in-law, Frankie Grassi says, if you can't make it, who cares?